And we are live. So happy Friday, everyone. I can't believe it's Friday again.
And it's beautiful.
It is. It's so sunny and nice and fun outside. But we're here doing a live. Because, I was saying to you now, I was in a session and I love to see how other people do their coaching and how they teach and their point of view and everything. And I think that's the beauty when you realize that when we always say you cannot be everything to everyone and that everyone got their own unique voice and there's not really a competition. I think that's the answer. Like I keep on receiving when I'm going to different like events like this to see that there's different approaches. And like if I look at you, so I think it's a great opportunity maybe for you to share like what you do differently from others and what's your perspective as a coach and how you do things, and then we can take it from there to the topic.
Cool. Yeah. So what I absolutely love about the coaching style that I do is there is an end result. So it's very much around the person. It's working on the person, not the problem. That's the first thing, because so often we focus on the problem, but it's actually about the person, not the problem. The second part is then becoming aware of what it is that you keep doing, whether it is people pleasing, whether it is being too accommodating. So what is it that you keep doing so that you get a self-awareness practice that you do? And then you do self-observation, and then you get a practice. So you become aware of what it is you're doing, so like you're people pleasing, and then you get a practice on how to actually change that. And that's done. So the meetings are every 2 weeks, and that's done over a period of a few months. But what's powerful about it is after your 8 or 10 sessions, there's changes in the way that you do things. So if you were somebody who was always very accommodating, for example, and always saying yes, then you would do something like a truth telling. And the truth telling would mean going forward that you would implement different practices, that you were no longer people pleasing, because that's actually not truth telling, is it? In a sense, So it's very much around the person going, okay, so what's not working for me? When do these things come up? And then how do I change those things? So that's why it's powerful, because I think for me, if I'm going to invest my time and energy and money into something, I want to see a change. I'm willing to do the work. That's the one thing. The person has to be willing to do the work, because in between the 2 weeks, there's observations and practices you need to do in order, obviously, to make the change. But if the person's willing to do the work, you will walk away from that having made changes. So it's not just meeting somebody once every 2 weeks and talking about what's going on for you.
Which I love about it, because I'm also the type of person that give homework to their clients. So that's the only way, right? You can see a progress if you actually do the work and you do something, and it shows how much you really want to make a change, how much you really are invested in this.
And also you want the person to feel like they are growing and becoming a better version of themselves. So if there is no practice and there's no benchmark, then how do either parties know that there's any change? And I'm sure you feel the same with what you do. If there's no change, absolutely. What's the point, right?
And I think that's why today's topic is very nice, because it's all about science and how to be self-aware. Because how can you decide to make a change and work on something if you're not aware that you actually need to make that change, that you actually need to go and work on your self-improvements or work on improving your business?
Yeah. So basically, the belief is, if there's anything that you are not happy with, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your friendship, whatever's going on in your life, if you're not happy with it, it always starts with you. And the place that it starts with you is how to become more self-aware. So then you're thinking, am I self-aware or am I not self-aware? So there's some points that I would like to share and that we could kind of go through on people to be able to assess for themselves if they're self-aware or not. So the first one is when somebody is very defensive. So like if I said to you, I mean, I know you're fantastic because I've done a lot of work with you on social media marketing. But like if I have to say to you, the way that you do this or the way that you do that, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable with. And you're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? You think I'm not good? that kind of defensiveness, as opposed to taking it as constructive feedback.
I think a lot of the time we find ourselves, and I must admit that's something I've realized on myself recently, is that even when someone come for you, and again, it's not only about business, also with your friends and your partner, and they say something, and the moment you get into a defense mode that you actually trying to explain, it means there's something actually was true on the other side, and that it's
Yes.
really touched like something sensitive. So then I realized sometimes when I'm getting this, like in the past, I had that type of the pleaser side of things, that I want to please, so I'm trying to explain. Then I realized, no, I actually don't need to explain.
No.
All of what I think, I'm not going to get into defense mode. And I think I would love to hear from people who watch this. Like, are the type of person that going into a defense mode? Yes, not. I know that I'm really working on not do this, because I realized that there is actual more meaning to this than I actually think. Like, people don't see it because of you trying to please and explain. They see it in a different way.
Exactly. So that's the first one. The next one is about being too controlling, and it's controlling about the little things. And the fact is, we can't control everything. So when you're trying to control and pick at those little things, again, that's about bringing it back to you, and you becoming more self-aware about the need to not actually always have that control. I don't know if you
Yeah.
resonate with that one.
No, I can, because I used to be like a control freak kind of style, instead of things that you like, like you want things to happen. And I must admit, like even when I started my business, I would love to hear how many can resonate with this. But when you start a business, like I was thinking, like, oh my God, it's gonna happen so fast and everything. And then you realize it's not in your control, and there's a reason why things happening in a certain way, and you need to learn to trust the process. So controlling the situation is really like, but when you self-aware and you notice this thing, you can actually let it go.
Exactly. The next one is that passive aggressive. So I think it's quite common in relationships. I think it's possibly more common in relationships than in any other domain. I think I'm not 100% sure, but it's that opposite, where you're saying one thing but you actually mean something else. That kind of undertone. And I'm sure that if you are in a situation or in a relationship, if the person can call you up on that and you don't get defensive about it, that would be first prize, because you can only change things. That's why self-awareness is so important. You can only change the things you are aware of. If you're not aware of them, you cannot change them.
True. And by the way, it also can happen in business, right? When you're saying one
Yes.
message, and because you're
Mm,
not clear with yourself, and then you don't
mm.
understand why clients are not getting you, and why things are not working, and why you cannot even get, even with your employees or things like this.
Yeah. And the next one's about making excuses. And I mean, I think everybody in the whole world is kind of guilty of this. If there's things that you don't like to do, and I mean, I can definitely say that's the case. There's certain things that I don't like to do, and it's so easy to go, oh, there wasn't time, or I ran out of time, or I didn't think about it, or I had too much work, or I don't know, some rubbish. But yeah, making excuses. I don't know
So
if you
that one
make
is actually
excuses.
funny, because like I literally had a conversation yesterday with a friend about procrastination. That a lot of people come and say my weakness is I'm procrastinating, like, and that's like, no, actually procrastination is an excuse, in my opinion. Again, it's a big huge
Hmm.
excuse. If you're procrastinating, it means you don't like what you do. You don't really want to do it, because when you really want to do something, you do it. You don't procrastinate. So when you procrastinate, you use that word to say, no, I'm just a procrastinator. Like, I procrastinate. No. So that's for me
Mm.
actually
An
goes into
excuse.
like making excuses. So don't do that.
Hmm. And the next one is not wanting to show emotions. So I think the fact that, that we get angry or we get sad or we get irritable or whatever emotions that we feel, but we don't feel comfortable enough by actually expressing them and just being honest and just feeling like we have to be great and happy all the time and everything's okay and everything's fine. So that's be able to own those emotions, because that's part of who we are.
But it's difficult for a lot of people. Maybe there's a topic we need to touch by itself about, how to show the emotions, because for that you really need
Mm.
to connect to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And then the last one's about being unrealistic and having like grandiose ideas and having these ideas of grandeur. And I think having worked for myself for a very long time, you having worked for yourself for a very long amount of time, I think and also having been employed in your case and having the comparison, I think you become a lot more realistic in a way. Like I've got quite a few friends who've immigrated. Three actually of my best friends have all immigrated, and the one went last week or a few days ago, got this massive, brilliant opportunity at a corporate company, and I'm possibly thinking what she will be able to create and earn would be very different to what we would in an entrepreneurial space. I'm just guessing. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I think sometimes in the space we work in, we can have these grand ideas that aren't actually that realistic, and then we're not being self-aware.
I think it's in general because I do see it as well with like goals that businesses are setting to themselves that are not
Mm.
realistic, or they think they can do things and it's not going to happen. Although I do come from the corporate life, and my previous boss was always used to tell me like don't look at things and say what's not, like what cannot work. We'll figure it out. But again, you still need to be kind of attached to reality, and you cannot really ask things that are very, very far from it with your business, relationship wise, and everything. But find even like I like to say it all the time, like do those little baby steps, right?
Mm.
Put like a mini goal to that big goal, unrealistic goal. Then see if you can get there, and you can get there, and eventually it might get you to that unrealistic one, and it will make it realistic.
Well, I think it would be the same for both of our industries. Like from a coaching side, the coachee is only going to achieve as much as what they commit to and what they give to. So I can't help them if they can't help themselves. And I think it's the same with the social media marketing. Somebody will come to you and say, I want my business to do X, Y, and Z. Well, yeah, that's fine. But these things take time. Just because you're not on social media and you never were and you've done 3 posts, that doesn't mean you're going to suddenly turn your business around and be turning a few million, So you've also got to be realistic about that and take ownership of that.
And it's the same way that I experience now with the Reels challenge, that people are expecting like, oh my God, like I received on the first video because the algorithm is exposing you. They got thousands of views. But it doesn't mean you're gonna get it like based on each and every one of your views. And then a lot
No.
of other people are saying like, oh, look how I gained 20,000 followers in 1 month of doing Reels. It's not for everyone. Don't forget that like they also probably some of them live in the US, which is the easier target market to get the exposure and faster because of the crowd that watch it. Whereas like in South Africa, that not a lot of people still are using Instagram and things like this. There's a lot of different variants and stuff around us, and eventually it doesn't really pay the bills. So it's those unrealistic things that we're telling, and we're not self-aware to the situation. Is your type of business,
Exactly.
like even if you're a local business that we're just in this specific area, why do you need so many followers that are not even from your country?
No,
It's
completely.
gonna help you. No.
Absolutely. So I just want to end up with saying to everyone for the weekend, just become when if you get triggered or if you're feeling in a certain and I'm assuming it's going to be not a if you're feeling happy and grateful, then that's fine, it's not relevant. But if you're not, if you're feeling the opposite or sad and irritable or whatever's going on for you, try and use some of these tips and just see how self-aware you are, because it all starts with you. And if you can start making changes within yourself, the world will be a very different place in the way that you see the world. Not that it is different, but the way that you see the world will be very different.
But you know what? I'll add to this that when you make the change, you automatically dragging the change in other people.
Yeah,
So make the change in you first of all for yourself, and the rest will follow.
exactly. And then we will see you on Tuesday. Have a good weekend.
Have a weekend. Bye.